dare the world, neglect us in this way, being careless in this way, leave us abandoned in this way? That's unacceptable and really unforgivable.
Now, more than 20,000 people are known to have died after the earthquakes in Turkey and Syria. But the full extent of the disaster is still far from clear. Freezing weather is threatening the lives of survivors and making the rescue effort more difficult. Well, let's go live now to Syria and speak to Abdulkafi Al-Hamdo, who's a teacher, an activist and a reporter. And he speaks to us now from the city of Idlib. Good morning.
Hello, good morning, everyone. And thank you for letting me this chance to speak about instead of my people.
Well, it is so important for us to understand what is happening in Syria right now. So explain what the situation is like on the ground.
Thanks a lot. In fact, now this is the 5th day of the catastrophe, the earthquake. The rescue, the rescue teams are still searching for survivals from under the rubble in many places. But as you said, in fact, the situation is slow as we don't have enough equipment to do that. The weather is severely cold. In fact, the rescue teams are really exhausted. They are overwhelmed. We don't have only them, in fact. We have only these people who are called, civil defense. In fact, they are working that. Yes, there are many volunteers, but these volunteers, of course, don't work on the equipment, the limited equipment there. And unfortunately, we didn't receive any help from any side in this world to help us in getting people alive from under the rubble. This is why, in fact, we lost much more lives, in fact, that can be saved from under the rubble if we were a little bit faster. But as I told you, I was there, by the way, the first day. I saw many people, in fact, under the rubble. I heard them. I heard their appealing cries, screams to take them out. But we didn't have equipment. We have only our bare hands to do that. They do nothing in front of dozens of tons of rubble. So that's why, in fact, the situation is still catastrophic. Dozens of families, in fact, were lost, at once. In general, the situation, the mourning is over the area. All places, all streets, all the area, in fact, is devastated. So that's, in fact, the situation till now.
I know that the first aid got through to Syria yesterday, very delayed, but as you say, the big heavy lifting equipment didn't get in, but food and supplies did. Are people who have survived the earthquake getting food and shelter that they need now?
In fact, first of all, I will let you understand something that, these trucks that came yesterday, they are not related to the response at all. These 6 trucks, they are already in the UN warehouses, which were in the Bab al-Hawa crossing border. So they are also scheduled a week ago. It means that before the earthquake. So they came in not as a response to the earthquake, disaster. And even the materials there, they are only, in fact, some hygiene kits that are, as I told you, regularly in the past were coming to the area. So that's just to let you understand that nothing till now literally came into Syria. These, as I told, trucks were already scheduled before the earthquake. And this is what, of course, the official of the Bab al-Hawa crossing border assured yesterday in a meeting. Now let me speak about the whole situation. In fact, those survivals, which are hundreds of thousands of people who survived from the earthquake, they are now literally in the streets. in these severe conditions that we have here. Just imagine, we tried yesterday to go to buy some, to get some blankets for these people. We didn't find. In the whole northwest Syria, you will not find a blanket for these people. So what we were doing, we were taking our own blankets to give these people. Yes, I think we are sharing our things to keep alive. That's the only thing we are doing nowadays, because nothing coming from outside, and we don't. This area is already suffering from a disaster even before the earthquake. It's devastated from a huge shortage in everything. If we are speaking, for example, about the medical supplies, this area, and I have been speaking even this before, it devastated before the earthquake. So now, believe me, people are not kept in hospitals. I mean, injured. They are severely injured. Nevertheless, they are not kept in hospitals because they don't have resources to keep these people alive and to help them.
So, Abdulkafi, just explain to our audience, this is a rebel-held area of Syria, which has suffered anyway. You point out that the aid that came in yesterday was the weekly organised aid. This wasn't anything in response to the earthquake, so it wasn't specific to the needs of people right now in response to the earthquake. Was this an area that had been heavily bombed before? What was the situation like in Idlib before the earthquake?
Exactly. Thank you very much. In fact, I want the world to understand and differentiate. I mean, Syria is divided. Syria, I mean, there are the rebel-held areas, and we have the Syrian regime or Assad regime areas. I'm speaking about northwest Syria, which is rebel-held areas. This area, in fact, that have been bombed, in fact, for 12 years, that have been suffering for years, that is abandoned for years. In fact, this area that was being destroyed slowly by the airstrikes. So this time, in fact, what happened is that the earthquake did that. So some people think, who sent a lot of aid to Syria, to Assad regime, that they sent to the whole of Syria. That's not true, because what is sent to Assad is kept to Assad, and Assad, who is already destroying our areas by warplanes, will not help us now because of the earthquake. Because in fact, the earthquake did for us what Assad has been doing for years. So do you think Assad will give us a single aid? Of course
well,
not.
This is the conversation that is being had in the wider world about not giving aid to the Assad regime, but making sure that any aid that is given to Syria is given directly to non-governmental organisations and to charities to make sure of that. Do you know why aid isn't getting in? Have you got any sense of why aid specifically to help people after the earthquake isn't getting through?
In fact, that's the difficult question that's in all our hearts, everyone's heart here in northwest Syria. They said that there are logistic problems. I want to assure in Bab al Hawa, I want to tell you that there are no logistic problems, because the dead bodies, the corpses of the Syrian people who died in Turkey, they are coming every now and then. So from different areas in Turkey. So yes, we were receiving, we were expecting, aid to come through these borders. In fact, what we will receive is only, corpses, dead bodies. So, so this means that there are no logistic problems. So why did UN, in fact, get late in this? I'm not sure if the problem is with UN, if the problem is with Turkey itself, that is also suffering. That's why they might, in fact, make things late for us. I'm not sure about that, and I cannot. But of course, there is a problem in one of these sides, either Turkey or the international community, in leaving us abandoned. This is a message. In fact, I want to tell you something. People here now are not suffering more because of the earthquake, because of the like severe cold, because of these severe conditions that we are living in. Now we are suffering because of this neglect, because of this ignorance for Syrians, for our lives, for understating our lives, for our understating who we are. Because we felt 5 days after the earthquake and no help, it's too much for those people, in fact, to have on their shoulders. I did that. In fact, personally, I'm really tired of this. I have a lot psychological problems with me about out of this. I can't consider that. How dare the world, neglect us in this way, being careless in this way, leave us abandoned in this way. That's unacceptable and really unforgivable.
Well, Abdulkafi, this is why it's important that we give you the voice so that people can hear what is happening and what it is like for you living there. I just want to ask you how you are coping, because I can see you here. We have a video link to you, and I can see that you are getting emotional, completely understandably. You talk about the lack of sleep. You talked about how you heard those survivors crying out for help under the rubble. That must have had a huge impact on you. How are you coping?
In fact, yes, exactly. Really, it's difficult for everyone here. Imagine that now for 5 days, I couldn't even smile in front of my kids. I can't sleep because these pictures that I see, these voices in my ears, they are torturing me. You see that some people few meters from you only, and you can't help them because of why? Because you don't have equipment to help them. Few meters, people who are under the rubble, and you don't help them, and they are appealing to you, screaming to you, children, women, men. All of these were screaming, and I couldn't do anything. And the world, we are telling them about that, and they don't come. It's over my burden. I'm personally, in fact, some people, many, in fact, they tell me, Abdulkafi, tell the world, you speak English, tell the world what our situation is. Is it logical? They don't understand the situation in Syria. I'm trying to speak all the time, and I don't see response. I'm not sure if I can express the situation. Yes, in fact, the situation cannot be described. It's just being felt and being lived. That's why I'm not sure that if anyone of the world would understand what our situation is without living that, without
Of course. And
here.
Abdulkafi, you're absolutely right. We cannot understand what it is like without living it. And I'm so sorry that you are having to live it. But it is so important that you can come on and tell us so articulately what it is like to live there. And I'm just so sorry about how you feel that you have been abandoned. But we will try and get some answers for you. And thank you for speaking to us. Just stay safe.
Thanks a lot for letting me, in fact, give a voice.
No, it's so important. Thank you so much. That is Abdulkafi Al-Hamdo. He's a teacher, he's an activist, he's a reporter. He's in the city of Idlib. As he said there, people saying, you speak English, speak to the world. But the fact that he says, you have left us, the world has abandoned us. I mean, to hear there, we have been led to believe, haven't we, that aid has gone in yesterday into Syria to help people because of the earthquake. Well, Abdulkafi says, that is aid that you would get on a weekly basis. It comes in anyway. It had water filtration. It had cleaning stuff. It didn't have anything specific to the earthquake. And he's saying, which has also been echoed by the White Helmets, who are the people who go out and rescue people in Syria, have done throughout the war, saying that we haven't got the heavy lifting equipment. That's what we need. You know, Abdulkafi telling us there, he heard screams. He heard survivors calling out. And what could he do? He's got his bare hands. There's only so much he can do. That heavy lifting gear is not getting in. The food, the blankets, the shelter, everything that is required is simply